Let's say I have a diagram that I want to share with my students, like this diagram of the human digestive tract. Now, this image on its own may not be especially helpful, and I can certainly provide more context in the text that accompanies this image, but wouldn't it be nice if that context could be within the image itself? This is where the image hotspots activity comes in handy. It allows you to take a standard image like this and overlay contextual information that's directly related to the image contents. This contextual information can include text, external links, images, and even videos the students can watch directly inside the activity. We'll of course begin in our content bank by clicking the Add button and then selecting Image Hotspots. My personal preference is to edit in full screen, and though you'll see several of those asterisks here on this screen, you really only need to add a title and background image before you add your hotspots. Adding the background image is done the same way that it is in every other H5P activity you've used, and to make this activity fully accessible, you do need to add alternative text for that image. Once you've added alternative text, it's worth noting that you can control how hotspots appear on the image. For example, this image hotspots activity is configured to show icons that are white and have an information symbol. For hotspot icons, you can certainly use a predefined list of icons, but you can optionally upload your own. My personal recommendation is that you stick with the predefined icons since you can know that they will always work. If you're using a predefined icon, you'll be able to select which icon you'd like to use in the drop-down menu below. For this activity I'm building, I'll leave it at the default of plus. You can also change the color of the hotspot, though I find the default purple color generally works well. Once you've added your title, background image, alternative text, and set your icon settings, you can begin adding hotspots to the image. Each hotspot is added the exact same way. First, you click anywhere on the image to set the hotspot's location. If you're having a hard time placing your hotspot, I recommend using this icon below the image to make it larger. If you want your hotspot pop-up to cover the entire background image, check the box next to Cover Entire Background Image. We also recommend including a header, which is a sort of title for users who are using a screen reader. Once you set your hotspot position, decided whether you want it to cover the entire background image or not, and entered a header, you can begin adding the pop-up content. The pop-up content is very straightforward. Your options are text, video, image, or audio. Adding content to a pop-up in this activity is different from adding content to a document or, let's say, an As You Learn resource like the page resource. It's different because each block of content is added separately and individually. For example, my image hotspot for these carrots includes text, a video, and then more text. And when editing the hotspot for carrots in this activity, under content items, I had to add text, video, and then more text. So when you're adding your content into your hotspot popovers, think of it in terms of components, or perhaps blocks that fit together. For my hotspot about the liver, I'm going to simply provide a paragraph of text. This text is meant to describe what the liver does and its role in the human digestive system. If I needed to add more items to this, such as a video, I would click the Add Item button, then select the content item I'd like to add. Like other H5P activity types, content items like video, text, and audio can be copied and pasted from other parts of this activity or other activities you've already created. To add new hotspots to your image, scroll down and click the Add Hotspot button. This will be yet another example of H5P rewarding you for learning to use it, because the interface for adding an additional hotspot is exactly the same as the interface that you just used. So while it's easy to feel a little overwhelmed at first as you're using H5P, think about what we've actually done so far. All we've had to do was add a title for our activity, upload a background image, include alternative text for that image, then add our first hotspot. Those are the only things that we need to learn to do to successfully create our own image hotspots activity. And just like other activities that we've created, if we find that we're scrolling too much, we can always click on a heading to expand or collapse it. I'm going to take a few moments to finish labeling this image. When you've added all of your hotspots, click the Save button to load a preview of your activity. I now have my original image, but labeled with my distinct hotspots. These hotspots display contextual information directly on top of the image itself. This means that instead of going somewhere else for information about this image, my students can interact directly with the image itself. This is a non-graded activity that can be deployed on its own, but you'll likely find much more value in using image hotspots if you incorporate it into text in your course or fold it into an existing As You Learn assessment. For example, this activity can be embedded into a prompt in a forum or into a question in an As You Learn quiz.